Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Mezco 112 Collective Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn Ash figure. And starting off with the box, it's a standard Mezco packaging. It's kind of big, but it does look nice. Right there in the center it says Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. On the side of the box it says Mezco 112 Collective Post Play Display. Beneath that you have the Evil Dead logo again. On the back of the box you get a look at the figure with some of the accessories that he comes with, and then down under that we have some promotional images. And as always, I'm a fan of the Mezco box, but I do think it's too big. I do wish they'd start using the packaging that they use for the exclusive figures for their standard releases, but they probably never will. So anyways, let's get into the figure. So now here's Ash fresh out of the box, and before we get too deep into the review, I do want to admit that I'm not crazy familiar with the Evil Dead mythology. I have seen Army of Darkness, but that was probably about 10 years ago, and I did like it a lot, but I was just never compelled to watch the first two Evil Dead movies because I always heard that they're crazy gory, and that's just not my thing. But after picking up this figure, I did go and check out some clips on YouTube of Evil Dead 2, and it looked pretty hilarious even with the gore. So one of these days I'm going to have to buckle down and check them out because I've always respected Ash as a cult classic movie icon, and I've always respected the fact that Sam Raimi has like his own like style with his crazy gory, with his crazy horror movies, and I know that people really like them. So I've never been confused by all the love that Ash gets or that the Evil Dead movies gets, but I just have never sat down and watched the first two. But like I said, I love Army of Darkness, so I am very happy to have this figure. I know NECA has been doing great Army of Darkness figures and Evil Dead figures, but I just, NECA's awesome and everything, but I just never liked any of the figures enough to pick up. I'm a huge Mezco fan, and I have an interest in Ash, so this figure made sense for me. So that's why I picked it up. But anyways, let's get into the review. So let's start off with the details here. I love the way all the blood looks on the shirt. I love the ripped effect here, and you can see some more blood up here. All that looks really nice. The straps look great. It doesn't look like they're removable. I haven't really tried to force it, but it doesn't seem like they're removable. So there they are. There's the gun holster there for his boomstick, and that fits right in there. So that's really nice. It's very snug, doesn't feel like it's gonna fall out, but it does feel like it's kind of on the wrong side. From the pictures I've seen, it seems like this should be more centered so he could reach it with his other hand, because this hand usually has the chainsaw on it, and we'll get to that in just a minute here. And the pants look very nice. Let's see here. It's got like the fake faux pockets. I'm never a fan of that. I wish that it had real pockets, but it's not a big deal. The belt here is sculpted. It's sculpted all the way. All of it is plastic. There's no cloth loops that are holding it down, but it does look nice. This piece of fabric is attached to his leg, so it's not just swinging around, but it all does look cool. You've got some scratches on his abdomen that look nice. They don't seem to be sculpted. They're just painted on, but they do look really good. One thing about this figure that stood out to me as a negative is the way that the arms look. This exposed arm looks really small, and it kind of reminds me of a Barbie, so I can't get that out of my head. But yeah, usually Mezco figures have cloth all over, so these skinny arms aren't that big of an issue to look at. But here, yeah, it kind of looks weird. Check out the elbow. And it just looks really skinny. So I'm not a huge fan of the arm. I do wish that it was a little more muscular. Since they decided to go with the exposed arm look here, I wish that they would have sculpted a new arm that just had a little bit more definition. I know it doesn't need to be like a huge superhero arm because he's kind of like an everyman kind of character, but I do wish that the arm was a little more defined and had some more muscle definition in there. And I wish this elbow wasn't so awkward. But anyways, let's see what else. On this side, it all looks good. You've got the little hook that he could use to start his chainsaw. That's awesome. And let's see here. You've got the sculpted shoes that look good. You could bring up his pants a little bit and see some more details in there. So that all looks nice. For the most part, the figure looks really cool. You got some buttons on the front of the shirt here. A pocket that, again, seems to be like a fake pocket, but that's okay. And for the head sculpt, I think they did a pretty good job with it. It captures the look of a young Bruce Campbell pretty well. And I like all the scars on the face. You got some scratches and things like that. There's a very slight 5 o'clock shadow. It's really hard to see on camera, but in person it's definitely there. But yeah, I kind of forgot how Bruce Campbell looked back in the day. And when I first saw this, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. But then I was looking at some pictures, and it definitely captures the way that he looked during the time that this movie came out. Which was in the late 80s sometime. But yeah, I love the way that these scars look. The hair looks nice. There isn't a lot of paint details or anything, but it's still sculpted very good. And then you have this head that has a bunch of blood coming out of the hair. That looks really nice. I like the way that the blood is really bright red, and I like the confused kind of look on his face. This one I'd say looks a little less like Bruce Campbell, but it is pretty cool. It's kind of hard to tell because the blood all over it. So I think it does the job pretty good. And same thing with the hair. Not a lot of paint details, but it all looks nice. And then you have the dead-eyed ash head, and that looks really nice too. I like the way that the eyes have the black in there. I like how the neck has like sunken in skin. It just looks all nasty and crazy. And yeah, look at that. That's really dope. You got some blood on the neck there. And yeah, it has a really like possessed, crazy look to it. So I like that a lot. And I'm sure most people are going to want to display Ash with this chainsaw hand. So let me show you how that works. All you need to do is pop off the hand. And then you grab the chainsaw, which has a peg hole way deep inside there. You can't even see it on camera. It's even hard to see in person, but there's definitely a peg hole in there. But I can't get the peg to get into the hole, but the chainsaw will still sit on his forearm here. So yeah, you just push it on there and you're good to go. Once you start twisting it and stuff, it's going to want to come off, but you can just leave it like that and it's not going anywhere. But check it out. It looks really nice. You can see some fresh blood on there that looks good. The chainsaw itself looks really grimy. It's got some red paint, some black wash. Then on this side you have you know, I guess that would be like the exhaust, and then the pull start lever there, the handle, and yeah, just a bunch of cool stuff. Check it out. You got some blood on this side too, and yeah, it just looks awesome. This thing is you know, the whole look of Ash with the chainsaw hand and the shotgun and everything is just so wacky and goofy. You know, it's awesome. But check it out. The chainsaw is definitely done very well here. And now moving on to the other accessories, he does come with a pair of fists, but that's the only right hand that he has. And then for the left side, he does come with 2 additional hands, one of them being a trigger finger hand that he could use to hold on to his shotgun, and the other one being a gripping hand that he could use to hold on to the Book of the Dead. So it's less hands than we typically see with the Mezco figure. In addition to the hands, he also comes with a possessed hand and a dead-eyed head. And as usual with Mezco, all the accessories are sculpted really nice. I really like this sawed-off shotgun here with the short barrel. This thing looks great. It looks really cool with Punisher too. But yeah, I love the way this thing looks. And then the Book of the Dead looks really nice too. You could see the face sculpted on the front of it. It's brown. It has like a really nasty texture to it. And that thing is pretty cool. And the Deadeye head is really nasty as well. Check that out. You got some hair on the back that looks gross. The neck looks nasty. The face looks disgusting. Got some gross teeth. The eyes are different colors. This thing is really, really nasty. And I like the way that looks a lot. And then you have the possessed hand that's you know, flipping you off a little bit, but the sculpt and detail is really nice. I like the nasty corroded skin tone. It's not just like a regular skin tone. You got some red and some flesh color in there, and you got some like a rotted look on the front of the hand there. And then of course you have the standard Mezco stand that has a peg on it that you could use to pose the figure on, or you could use the articulating flight stand, but I doubt Ash has much use for that, so I'll probably just have him hanging out on here. And I do think this looks good. It says Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, with an all black background, so it does look pretty nice. And let's run through some size comparisons real quick. Here we have the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. And following them, we have the Figure Arts Civil War Iron Man and the NECA Caesar. And next up, we have the NECA Movie Leonardo and the Black Series Boba Fett. And then finally, we have the Mezco Michael Myers and the Mezco Punisher. And then something I thought was kind of fun was that the Mike Myers body is very similar to the Ash body. So you could take some of the parts from Ash, throw them on Mike Myers, and then you have like a custom, you know, Ash figure, or like a different look for him. And what I kind of plan on doing is putting on the Deadite head and then having like a random zombie for for Ash to fight. And the head won't quite pop on, but it does sit on there enough for you to get some cool pictures and poses if you need to. So I think that's some pretty cool stuff. It's always fun to have different kind of customizing options. For the articulation, most Mezco fans really aren't going to be surprised. This is the same body that we've seen on Joker and a couple other figures. I believe it's the same body they used on the Star Trek figures. So yeah, no real big surprises. It's decent for the most part, but some of the articulation is very limited. But let's get into it here. It has a type of head that only has movement where the neck meets the torso and not where the neck meets the head. So it's a little limited compared to some other Mezco figures, but it is okay. It kind of rotates around. You could get him to look up to about there, get him to look down to about there. You got some side to side, and it's decent. And then for his torso, you have the cut in the center of the torso and then at the waist. And at first I thought I wasn't going to be able to get a good crunch out of this guy, but with some work you're able to make it happen, you know. But it's tough because you have the straps here and that torso joint doesn't work that good to begin with. But you know, it's decent. You could get some okay poses out of the torso if you work with it, and especially if you're like bending the legs and stuff all together. Kind of gives the illusion of a decent ab crunch. But yeah, you're not getting much movement out of that centerpiece. It's mostly out of the waist. But it does move side to side. Actually, let's see here. Sorry, let me get this out of the way. It does move side to side. You do want to be careful because you will lift the shirt out of the pants there, and it'll probably be a hassle to get that back in, but I'll worry about that later. And it could twist side to side, a little bit at the waist, but mostly in the mid-torso. And then for the arms, the arm can go all the way around because it doesn't have the cloth or anything. It comes out to the side, doesn't have the upper bicep swivel, has a single jointed elbow, which really sucks. And then you have a swivel at the elbow, swivel at the wrist, hinge at the wrist. The legs are pretty good on this body. They could come all the way out to the side pretty much. And then you have the forward movement to about there. You could get them to go back to about there. You have the upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees, a swivel at the foot, and then his feet are able to rock a little bit. So I'm glad that the ankles are pretty nice on this figure. So like I said, the articulation is decent on this guy, but it's not as good as some of the other Mezco figures. So overall, I do like this figure a lot. I think that Mezco did a lot of good things here. I love the accessories that he came with. I love the details on the figure itself. I think all the cloth looks really good. The only big flaw is the body that they chose to use. This body's not good at all. Mezco really needs to maybe retire this thing or update it or do something to improve it. Luckily, it has the cloth material on it to kind of save these figures, but just the body itself isn't very good. And if they do want to use this body, they should make the changes when it's necessary. Like, I really think that they should have gave him a new arm. Just sculpted something that looked a little bit better so it didn't look so doll-ish, I guess you could say. But he's still a pretty good figure, and I'm happy to finally have an Ash to put on my shelf along with some of my other movie stuff. And I think this is a good representation of the character. So overall, I am happy with it, but Mezco really needs to do something about this body because it's not very good. There's no surprises with it. If you know, if they would have used the same body and made the necessary changes, then it would have been cool, but they didn't. So you know, we got a figure here that's not as good as it could have been, but it's still pretty awesome. So anyways, I think that's it. So thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.